Welcome to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast, a show chocked full of strategies for scaling your speaking business. Now here's your host, coach to the industry superstars, Jane Atkinson.
Well, welcome everyone to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. I'm thrilled to have Arel Moodie, the founder of Talkadot, back with us today. We're going to talk speaking industry trends. Arel, welcome back to the show.
Twice as nice with you, Jane, or like 4 times because I've had you on ours. I'm now back on yours. It's very exciting. Welcome.
I will have to tell you, out of all of the industry groups of speakers that I have done programming with, coming on your Talkadot network events, what did we have? Like over 80 people on the last one, and they're so engaged and they're so sharp and smart. And I just think your events that you put on as a value add for your Talkadot users are fantastic. So I have said to you, let's do more stuff together because I really, really have always enjoyed that. So one of the things I didn't know, which I just asked you last week, how long have you been in the speaking business? And give everybody a little snapshot of your speaking business today.
So this will be my 20th year. So 2026, already 20th year of being a professional speaker full time.
Wow.
Which is awesome. And, my journey is one of those, like many speakers who are in the game for a long time, you go through different niches. So I started in the education space and then moved to the Department of Education and Department of Labor and government kind of grant funding speaking, and then association and entrepreneurship. And now I spend a lot of my time really between associations and professional development, corporate groups, and still do a little bit of the education still sneaks in there, which is
Okay.
my first love.
Nice. When you say education, what level are you talking?
Specifically college.
College. Okay. The college circuit can be very, very interesting, and it's cool to be able to shape young minds in that way.
It is.
So, what topic would you speak to them with?
To the students or to the professionals?
College.
So college, a lot of it is around this idea that effort is everything. A big driver of the presentations that I've done, the ones that I've done in the past, is that there's a lot of things you can't control. You can't control how smart you are. You can't control how rich you are. You can't control where you are born, but you can control your effort. And then that can dovetail into lots of things like how that effort ties into their leadership, how that effort ties into their grades, how that effort ties into their future. So that's the core messaging whenever I spoke in the education space, but it can splinter into lots of different places as well.
So, because I have a bad memory, and the last podcast we did, I don't know how long ago it was. Um, Tell everybody why you started Talkadot.
Mm, yeah. So Talkadot was started because as a speaker, I've always felt so one, I'm not a celebrity speaker, and I think this is a big there's celebrity speakers and there's content experts. And the worlds of those are very different. So for speakers like myself, constantly, every time we give a speech, we're starting from scratch after that speech. Every January, whatever you did the year before that doesn't really matter at all, right?
Okay.
You've got to create more. And it kind of felt like a big hustle, a big drain. And it's like, it's got to be a better way. And Talkadot came about because I was talking to someone who's now my co-founder at Talkadot, and she wanted to get into speaking. And I was explaining the speaking world, and she just kept saying, like, well, how does it work? And I was like, well, it's a lot about who you know, and you got to be in front of the right people. And they're like, but how do they validate if someone's actually good? Well, typically they have to see you speak, or someone has to refer you. And it's like, but there has to be an objective way. And it's like, no, there really is none. And I was like, well, what if we created a way? And then we folded it into, well, what are all the things that I would want as a speaker if I could build something? Well, I'd want social proof, testimonials. I'd want data to actually prove, hey, I don't just think my ideas are good. Here's the proof to show, which most speakers don't do a good job of. And then how do you use every room you speak at to get more rooms? So who are the leads in the room that want to book me? How do I use that to market myself? So it kind of became this, if I could build something that could fill a hole that I would love filled,
Mm.
it would be something for the industry, and now we have over 12,000 speakers using our tool.
Oh, that is so cool. Well, congratulations. Um, when you were in your own speaking business, did you always like analyze the analytics? Like, has that always been? I'm thinking that's how your brain works. It's not natural for me to go to the analytics, and I'm thinking that's how your brain works. Is that right?
Actually, it's not natural for almost most speakers that I've met, to be honest with you. There
Okay.
very few speakers who even measure who get audience feedback, who, measure quantitative or qualitative data. So it's just, I think whatever part of the brain makes people really, really good speakers, that
Mhm.
other part of the brain that makes you like a data analysis interested person, it doesn't fire as much. So it's a very common thing. There are some speakers who do love it. For me, I've always had like a fascination with it and kind of an
Yeah.
admiration of it. And being able to team up with people who can operationalize it, use tech to do it, so I don't have to sit there with the numbers. And a lot of that, which is may or may not be boring, but when you deal with a lot of government contracts, there's a lot of measurement that has to be involved of, were these dollars worthwhile? So there was a bit of
Mm.
forcing function of a large client base that I had for some time.
Okay. So your users of Talkadot, they are collecting a lot of data. Tell everybody kind of what all is collected so that we have a starting point from where you like how you know about all of these industry trends. Just talk about some of the things that you're
What happens is when a speaker uses Talkadot, at the end of their presentation, they put up a QR code, the audience scans it, and then they answer quantitative data, like on a scale of 1 to 5, was this effective? Was this actionable? Was this engaging? So we measure some quantifiable data, and then
Mhm.
qualitative data, which is things like testimonials. How would you describe this? What did you take away from it? What could have been improved? So
Okay.
what happens is we've got all of these speakers that use this, and then you get an individual report that summarizes all of your data. We pull out like images for you that you can share on your social media or on your website of your impact based on, hey, I just spoke. 96% of my audience found my information to be actionable. 90%
Mm.
found it to be relevant to the work that they do. So now I can actually move from just saying, hey, I'm a great speaker, to this is the data that shows I'm a great speaker. And
Mhm.
because we've got so many speakers using it, and we know things like, what groups they've spoken to, what industries they've spoken in. So we have all of this data that we can now anonymize and aggregate in the same way Google takes all of our search terms and all this information, creates their Google Trends report. We now have a unique place of being able to actually analyze pretty much the entirety of the speaking industry, because we have so many different kinds of speakers. And instead of it being self-reported, like a lot of industry reports are, uh, how much do you charge? And it's
Mm.
based on what people say they charge. And
Right.
what types of groups do you speak to? And they answer, this is what I'm telling you, the groups I speak to.
Right. Right.
Our data is actually what's happening in the real world. So it's
Okay.
really unique, and never have been possible before because it just wasn't possible.
So, based on your data within Talkadot, you've identified what you call oxygen gaps. What are those, and why is it important for speakers to focus on?
So oxygen gaps is that space between where the market is actively hiring people in your topic and where you currently have little or no presence, right? So
Mhm.
I'll give an example. Let's say we'll go back to my example of me being when I was speaking in the education space. I was doing a lot of
Mhm.
school assemblies, right? So my whole focus is, let me get into the rooms and speak in front of students and do school assemblies. Now, the
Mhm.
oxygen gap is, well, are you doing district leadership professional developments,
Right.
superintendent events? Are you doing faculty opening days? So
Mhm.
these are adjacent niches to what you're doing that our data has shown. There's a lot of opportunities that are getting booked there, but you are not in that room. There's an oxygen gap between where you're spending your time and where some opportunity is. And for a lot of speakers, where they're, speaking is very much a feast and famine business. There are some
Mhm.
weeks and months where you're like, "Ooh, April is super packed, and March,
Yeah.
oh." And then what happens, which speakers don't talk enough about, is you've gotta figure out how to plan your money, right? Like, I'm gonna get this, like,
Yes.
percent deposit, but that event's not being delivered until 8 months from now, but then I gotta figure out I'm not gonna have this month in, like, September that's gonna be busy, but my October's gonna be huge. So there's
Yeah.
all of these, like, stressful things that comes with the money of the mercurialness of the industry,
Yeah.
thinking that if you knew your oxygen gaps for your particular niche, hey, I spend a lot of time talking about this to this group, and I don't spend any of my time talking this because either I don't know it exists or I just, for whatever reason, don't know about it. But if I knew, wait a minute, these folks also would be interested in what I'm doing, and they might have a higher budget or they might have a different seasonality in when they book, you can start smoothing out your
Mm.
and also getting higher fees depending upon if that's what the data shows for you.
Okay. Okay. So, what are you seeing as the reason many amazing speakers are still invisible to, say, high paying buyers?
A lot of speakers are optimizing in the dark. And what I mean by optimizing in the dark is you only know what you know, right? So when it comes to being a speaker, we just know what we know. We can't see what other people are really doing. Now, you get glimpses of it, right? You might go
Mhm.
in and you see a speaker colleague or a speaker friend or maybe a speaker that you like admire but you don't know, and they're like, "Oh, I just spoke at the, convention for manufacturer design. I had a great time." So you're like, "Oh, wait a minute, they're speaking at manufacturers. Is that like," and we do that a lot, right? Like, "Oh,
Yes.
is that like a niche I should be looking,
Should I go
should
there?
I
Yeah.
go there? Like, how did it
Yeah.
get that?" And, speakers very tight-lipped on, how stuff shows up a lot of the times. So when we're optimizing in the dark, we're only optimizing based on what I know, the data that I know,
Mm.
versus if you could actually optimize with full clarity of, "Hey, this is what the industry is doing. And you know what? You should be focusing on this because that's the biggest fear. If I'm trying to articulate the biggest fear I think speakers have is if I choose a niche and I go after it, what if they don't book me? What if they won't want me? What if they don't have a budget? What if I'm running east looking for a sunset and I'm never going to see it?
Mhm.
You can actually optimize knowing, like, these are the industries that are doing well. These are how they're booking. You might be able to go, "Wait a minute, you know what? I've never worked with nurses, but oh my gosh, nurses are doing tons of events because nurses are burning out at one of the highest rates of any medical professional there is, and we're trying to keep these people because we need them. So there's all these conferences that are happening." And you're like, "Oh, I just didn't know that existed." So now
Yeah.
you could put some packaging and some marketing and some language and some branding to solve those problems. As long as obviously, like, have, like, high levels of ethical, like, you have to be able to solve a problem for that group, right?
Right,
It's
right, right.
be like, "Oh, it's free money. I'm gonna try to go
And
take it."
let's just say a caveat right now that in no way are any of the trends or topics that we're going to talk about, if that's not your expertise, in no way are we saying you should go for it. Really stay within your lane in terms of your expertise. But when it comes to your niche markets or your target markets, I love the idea of us just kind of talking about what we're seeing. Now, let's differentiate between topic trends
Mm.
and topic fads.
Yep. Yeah. So what's really interesting is that a lot of speakers are always trying to kind of, ooh, I'll give you an example. DEI was like the biggest topic a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
People were like, "Oh my gosh, this is super important." And then what happened is they a lot of people jumped onto that,
Uh-huh.
unqualified, did not do the research, did not understand the nuance and the sensitivities of a subject of that matter.
Okay.
You saw from it was it turned into a fad. It turned into something that should be important and talked about and baked into everything that we're doing, but so many people jumped on it because it was such a hot topic that it
Mhm.
diluted it. We're seeing that now with AI. So with AI speakers, you're seeing a bunch of speakers jumping on AI and going,
Mhm.
I'm going to be like the AI guy, and I'm going to show and I know how to use Chat GPT, so like I'm now the so they don't really understand. They're not studying the nuances of it, so they
Yeah.
jump on it as that topic. They dilute it, and it turns it into a fad. The topics that are tried and true, and this is I think how smart speakers will think about AI specifically. It's
Mhm.
that because that's very fatty, trendy right now, right?
Mhm.
Um, Leadership, team building, culture. These are things that are forever, right? What's
Mhm.
happening is the speakers who see AI is going to be folded into everything that we do.
Yes.
It's not going to be a standalone topic much longer. Right now, it
Mhm.
is. So they're like, oh, we want to talk about AI. We want to talk about business and AI. But eventually, every single speech topic is going to have to include AI. So it's
Yeah.
no longer going to be a standalone topic. It's but
Mhm.
we fold it into everything. But if people say, no, no, I'm the AI guy, eventually it's probably like again, no one can predict the future. It's based on, like data, not no one can predict the future. But it's like me saying, "I speak on the internet. I'm the internet speaker." Like, yeah, in 2000, I would have been really busy, but, like, no one's gonna book me in 2026
Yes.
or whenever you're listening to this if you're the internet speaker. But
Mhm.
tech and the future of work, those will always be trends where if you look at things like, AI right now, it's gonna be a little more fad than trend.
So how to lead with AI coming and with AI assisting you and that it's an augmentation, it's not the whole topic necessarily. Um Talk a little bit more about, so we do know that leadership and team, what was the third one you said? Was it communication?
Communication's up there, but I think I probably said culture, 'cause that's it.
Culture, definitely. What are some other things? What are some little offshoots that you've seen happening?
Well, getting a sense of like there's big trends, right?
Mhm.
Particular industries of what's corporate looking for, what's like so let's go I brought up nurses, so let's go to the medical professionals for a moment. So,
Okay.
a lot of times we're like, okay, I want to speak to nurses. Well, now, well, what should I speak about? So,
Mhm.
like a lot of medical professionals, resilience, burn
Burnout, yeah.
really big, right? So, for example, if I'm a burnout speaker, for example, like
Mhm.
it would probably be really good for me to say, wait a minute, the data is showing that burnout in the medical professional is big. I need to start looking for nurse conferences, nurse practitioners, nurse associations. So there's these categories of where people speak, but then there's what is the interest level, the topic within that category.
Mhm.
Nurses, resilience, burnout, that's gonna be, like, a very, very big topic, so a lot of people could be like, "Wait a minute, I'm a burnout speaker, but I've never spoken in healthcare associations before." It might be a good place for you to spend some time looking into. Again, assuming you can help and it's im
And researching and really understanding their needs. I like that. I like that.
and then if you look at, like,
Okay.
associations, I'll throw one more out there, right? So you have associations.
Mhm.
They're gonna be leadership and communication dominant, right? So, innovation's also a big one. So I wanna speak at associations, so all associations have annual conferences. All annual conferences need keynote speakers, and a lot of associations have budgets, like pretty good budgets for speakers. So
Mhm.
if I'm a communications speaker, I'm like, "Wait a minute, I have spoke to corporations, but I've never spoken to associations before. How do
Mhm.
I get my message in front of associations and show them the problems that I solve? And now I'm not just focusing on my topic, I'm focusing on the audience as well. And I think a lot of speakers, which is fine, they focus just on the topic. But if you can be a little bit more, hey, here's a landing page on my website for leadership for association executives,
Yeah.
right? And create a landing page just for them,
Yes.
can send folks to. Now it's like, oh my gosh, not only is the topic a match, but they're a match for my audience. And it doesn't have to be directly linked on your website,
Yeah.
but having that as an individual landing page that you can use allows clients to go, not only is this person good at the problems we need, they're good for the types of audience members that we have. And I think a lot of
Right.
speakers, they miss that opportunity a lot.
You can really, nuance the language. So let's say we go to arelmoodie.com/college. All of the language on that one page is just focused on the problems that college age kids are seeing and how you address them, and all of the things that you're talking to them about effort. So, okay, in your own speaking business, I'd like to know, this is a curiosity question.
Mhm.
Um, how much of your, speaking of effort, how much of your business comes from your own marketing efforts, and how much would be considered spin-off, backstage leads?
So a lot of my personal business comes from Talkadot's leads, right? So what happens is when I speak into a room, so I do a lot with the association space within my personal speaking business. So what happens is I might speak to, a statewide association in New York. All of the people in the room run their own association, right? So they're like the Concrete Pours Association, the electric
Mhm.
utilities association, right? So then those folks will give me feedback on Talkadot, and then we have a question that says, "Are you interested in booking a rel?" If they say yes, we then ask them more lead-based questions. If they say no, we don't ask them any more questions so they don't get bothered. And then what happens is at the end of it in Talkadot, we have all of your leads in a section, and then we have hot leads. So these are people who said, "I want to book you at how an
Mhm.
event, and this is the date." One of the things that I've been doing recently, which has worked really well, is that in my booking question, I actually put my price point. Now, a lot of speakers like don't do that. But what I found is if you don't put your price point, people say, "Yo, I'm super interested in booking you,"
Yeah.
and see the number and they get sticker shock.
Yeah.
So by putting in that price, by the time they go through my system and they're a hot lead, they said that they want me, they know what the price
Yeah.
is, and now I just gotta, you know, it's a layup after that.
And you're disqualifying tire kickers who have a $500 budget and couldn't afford you anyway, and now you're not taking them through your whole process. I like that. I think that is one of those debatable things. Like, I typically would not suggest to a speaker to put their fees on their website, but for me, I don't really wanna deal with all the tire kickers that don't have a budget, so we actually do give our fees when asked. So, and we have had it out on our website many, many times. So, I think that it's just interesting, depending on what your goal is.
One of the things that I'll say too is that, with Talkadot, previously I used to get like, 40 leads at the end of an event. Now, at first, 40 leads sounds amazing until
Yeah.
you realize that's 1 hour of a phone call per person plus following up with people. That's 40 hours worth of work for
Yeah.
somebody, right? And
Yeah.
if those leads are not as qualified as you would like them to be, I
Yeah.
would rather have 4 leads that are qualified.
Mhm.
If they're in my audience and they see me speak, they already know what I offer.
Yeah.
I have philosophically said I would rather have 4 people who say they're interested than 40 people who say they're interested
Yeah.
because I can spend the time with because, even if I've also found, by the way, emails are not the most effective way to, like, if a lead tells you they're a lead, if you call them, you get through significantly quicker than if you email them. So I'd rather have my team call just the hot
Okay.
ones, not everyone. It
Oh,
works.
that's good.
Everyone. I always say you're the captain of the ship. You drive it the way you want to drive.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting to note what is effective for people, best practices. We love that. Now, in the formation of Talkadot, you kind of started with the service, and then you've been adding on and developing this. And I believe at some point in time, you must have recognized that, hey, all this data we're gathering is pretty valuable to people. How can we up our game here in terms of our service to people? Talk about an event that you have coming up at the end of March where you're going to offer something pretty significant.
Yeah, so what we realize is the more and more people are optimizing in the dark, the more and more you're going to burn yourself out as a speaker. It's just going to suck.
Mhm.
So now, what we can do is when someone is a Talkadot user and they put some data into our system, so we have an idea of what you talk about, who your audience members are, we can then run that data against an anonymized, aggregated data set from the millions of data points within our system and present you with these are your oxygen gaps. These are the places that, our system shows that there's opportunities, that shows that what you speak on and who you speak to matches. Here's what people are charging in that. So here's the price points that you could be charging. Here's
Mhm.
the positioning and the branding that you could be using that would work really well. So it's really taking the data of yourself, matching against the data of the industry, and
Mhm.
coming up with an action plan on here's who to reach out to, here's how to reach out to them, here's how to position it. Now, like, go after it with full confidence, knowing that it's data backed and not just, crossing your fingers and hoping that it works itself out. So we're doing an event in March 29th and March 30th, where for the users that apply and get accepted, they'll be able to get an individualized report created. And then we're going to do a 2-day event and walk them through their report, come up with the plans, make sure there's no questions, how abouts, yeah, buts, what ifs, and then allow them to leave that being able to execute on it.
That's pretty cool, and I heard you launch it on a call that I was on, and I said, "Let's come on to the podcast and let's talk about this because I think it's a really valuable service for people." Tell everybody the URL. Where should they go if they wanna learn more about this event? And now let's say well, yeah, tell everybody where they should go.
Yeah, so if you go to talkadot.com/Talkacon, so Talkacon, like
Okay.
Talkadot conference, Talkacon. Or if you just go to talkadot.com, you'll see information on our website for it. But
Okay.
I recommend everyone apply first because if you don't
Yes.
have enough data for us
Yes.
to
That
do it, we're not
that
gonna take it.
that was what I was gonna say, is that it is important that, you have the data. And so I think that sounds really like an amazing event. Talkacon. It even sounds cool and fun, and you have so much information about how to get booked that I think the people that come and spend 2 days with you if I wasn't going away already in March, I would be like, uh, "Arel, squeeze me into this conference. I wanna be a part of it." I really do, feel that way. So, congratulations on, Talkacon. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I would encourage people to, check that out. Now, if somebody wants to connect with you, maybe ask you a question, something like that, is LinkedIn the best place for them to go, or where do you like to be?
LinkedIn is perfect. I'm the only Arel Moodie in the whole world, so it's very easy to find me. But
That's so
LinkedIn is where I
interesting.
spend most of my time now.
I'm gonna spell it for people, Arelmoodie. Where does your name, stem from?
So Arel is a Hebrew word
Okay.
that comes from a line of God, and my mom also really liked Ariel, but a lot of girls were being named Ariel, so Arel felt a little bit more like
Okay.
manly, I guess. So like,
Okay.
I'll take it.
But how many people can say, "I'm the only one in the entire world"? I think that is pretty cool.
Maybe like I'll become cool one day, and then people will be like, I want to name my son Arel because
Oh, see, now that's, I
that's
think, a
happened.
mark of legacy is people start I don't think anybody's gonna be naming their daughters Jane, because I help them in their speaking business. So I think that's a cool aspiration.
Very, very, very much aspirational only.
All right, I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming back on the show. If you missed our first episode with Aral, go into speakerlauncher.com and click on podcasts and search Arel, and you will see his first episode, which was chocked full of amazing information on basically how to get booked more as a speaker. You do an amazing job that way. And I just love talking to you, sir. So thank you for being with us. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. And with that, we're going to say, see you soon, wealthy speakers. Bye for now.
Peace out, fam.
Thanks for listening to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. If you need help scaling your speaking business, head over to speakerlauncher.com and chat with us.